All right, good morning and welcome to mPower Innovations Electric GIS webcast. On the left-hand side is Greg Calcari. He's a founder and owner of mPower Innovations. On the right is myself. I'm John Felton. I'm a GIS and sales technician with mPower Innovations. Goals for today: we're going to do a brief introduction of mPower and an overview of mPower's integrator and OMS. That'll be about a 10-13 minute PowerPoint for myself, and then we're going to get into a software demonstration by Greg Calcari that'll be about 30-35 minutes, and then a quick Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Company profile: mPower was founded in 2006. We're a GIS software and smart grid systems integration specialist. We have senior personnel of over 20 years of utility experience, electric, water, gas, municipal, and institutional customers in over 30 states. Our mission is to make GIS and smart grid integration more affordable and more user-friendly by lowering its cost and complexity. On the right-hand side is a picture of our headquarters in Iron Mountain, Michigan. We also have offices in Appleton, Wisconsin, and Grand Rapids, where myself, Greg, and Dan are. Here are a few of our current customers. As you can see, we have customers all across the country. mPower is a silver member of Esri's partner network. Many of you are probably familiar with Irby, who is a distribution partner of ours. We're also members of APPA and NRECA. Greg and myself will be exhibiting at the Engineering and Operations Conference at the end of this month in Colorado Springs as well. Everyone in this webcast may be at a different point with their GIS and maps, so we created this stages document to help kind of break down and quantify the process of growing your geographic information system. So stage one is paper and AutoCAD drawings. Stage two is the transformation into an actual geographic information system, but data is still lacking behind your map. Stage three is the evolution into a data-rich map, but the maps are still in a desktop environment and not easily shared. Stage four is the migration to a web-based GIS platform, so you can get maps and data in the hands of people who need them when they need them. Stage five is a fully integrated smart map that is pulling data from outside enterprise systems like your customer information system, metering database, outage management system, AVL, whatever you have on site. Once you guys are at stage five, you can run high-end analysis on information that is located outside of your GIS in your GIS. How can you connect all of your systems and data to your GIS and make it accessible to field personnel? You can use Integrator for that. It's our mobile GIS and software system integration software. Integrator is a browser-based GIS software integration tool that gives you the unique ability to connect your enterprise systems to your GIS. Our GIS product is more than just maps. It is an extremely high-end GIS product that also seamlessly integrates with your other systems like billing, AMI, outage management, work orders. That gives you the unique ability to perform high-end analysis, to make smarter decisions, and to add a level of intelligence to your entire organization. Here's a screenshot of a site on Integrator. Your organization can create any number of sites that display certain data. These sites are browser-based and can link to any data source. With mPower Integrator, the data distribution process can be rapidly customized in functionality, appearance, data content, and security. Right now we're looking at a screenshot of a computer of one of our customers in the Keweenaw Peninsula on the shores of Lake Superior. Within this site, there are multiple enterprise systems in one map. The electric distribution system is being pulled in from Esri's geodatabases. Metering and outage data is being pulled in from Landis+Gyr meters. AVL information is being displayed as green and red triangles on the map. And in-code accounting information is populating customer data in the Integrator site as well. Because Integrator is browser-based, you can access your maps and data from any device with a browser. This is a huge benefit and allows your users to access digital forms and edit data in the field. When using a GPS-enabled device like your smartphone, you can take advantage of our geolocate tool. The geolocate tool centers you in the map, allowing you to quickly locate assets around your current location. Included in Integrator is a built-in redline tool that can be used in the office or in the field. The red line tool is used to annotate design changes and modifications and communicate those changes to other personnel in your organization. A great way to enhance your GIS is to build an electric connectivity model. With Integrator, you can check your model and perform custom traces that allow you to prepare for planned and unplanned outages, identify problem areas in your GIS as well as your model, do in-map customer notification and load analysis. We have the technical experience and expertise to build a fully functional electric connectivity model for your organization in just a few weeks. Here's a screenshot of the back end of Integrator. The administration interface is easy to navigate and straightforward. In a few simple clicks, you can create custom user-defined traces, searches, reports, and forms. This is also where you can create new users and restrict user rights as well. I'm going to talk a little bit about mPower's OMS system. It's our user-friendly outage management system. mPower's OMS displays outage data collected in from multiple sources like customer phone calls, AMI meter notifications, customer web notifications, and call centers. Quickly analyze, group, and prioritize incidents through your map as well as OMS manage screen. mPower's OMS can sync with any AMI system to pick up last gasps of meters that lose power. This AMI to OMS integration allows mPower to predict what is causing each individual outage based on timing and location of last gas AMI signals. Easily upload outage data to APPA's eReliability tracker without the hassle of continuous manual data entry. mPower's eReliability sync tool connects to any OMS or customer information system. Take your current outage codes and automatically upload it and sync it to APPA's eReliability portal. mPower's eReliability sync tool allows you to utilize all of APPA's online tools without the annoying data entry. I'm going to pass the presenting rights over to Greg. He'll be giving us a quick software demonstration of mPower's Integrator and outage management system.
Okay, thanks, John. Thanks, everybody, for coming today. And Dan, let me know when, oh, there we go. Looks like I am now the presenter. I'll just share my screen and we'll get rolling here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just give a brief couple of slides here, conceptualizing, kind of talking about the big picture. And then we'll dive right into the software and show some real-world examples and how we can tie everything together and make for a very efficient day-to-day operations and engineering situations using the GIS tool, planned outages using the combined GIS and outage management, and then, of course, unplanned outages. So I'm just going to start this slide. This mPower Synergy Suite graphic is a way to just kind of show the big picture, the 30,000-foot view of our solution and kind of how things work together. John touched on some of this in the PowerPoint, but the core of the solution is a very unique product called mPower Integrator, which allows us to tap into all your different systems, and we've also built the asset and outage management solutions that you see here around Integrator and made them fully integrated. So if you look over on the upper left, we'll be spending a significant amount of time with the outage management system. You'll also notice that it is, for those of you that have AMI, it is fully multi-speak AMI compliant. We've worked with every AMI vendor that anybody's ever heard of, probably several times with each of them. And one thing that's kind of not shown here, but because it's not part of our solution, but really another little dotted line could be right here to your CIS system, because our OMS will easily connect to that. So when you're looking up customers, and you'll see that in the demonstration, we can access your customer information when we're taking calls and putting information in or identifying who's out, that type of thing. Over on the lower right, we'll be talking about this significantly as well, which is the circuit model capabilities that we have. Some people have good GIS, but they're not at a stage yet where they have a fully developed circuit model in their maps. We have tools to help you get there. We have services to help you get there a lot sooner than you think. And that is a foundation for a lot of other great things that we can do with the product. So some of the other areas we won't be hitting in great detail today, but we have other webcasts, and certainly if you're interested in learning more. Our maintenance management component over here includes forms, which you will see user-definable data entry and editing forms. As part of that, obviously, it can be for inspection, maintenance, that type of thing. We also have a more robust, fully integrated work order product that is very friendly to work in the field with tablets, and is another component of operations, obviously. A couple of these other things, load analysis, that's another advantage of AMI integration. With our integrator tool, we can do some very nice, powerful load analysis capabilities. Again, a topic for one of our other webcasts that we get into in more depth. Automatic vehicle locator, we have an AVL light product, I would call it. We also tie into all the industry standard, well-known AVL systems. Okay, and PowerPoint's doing this to me again. Okay. It was not cooperating here. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so a software demonstration overview. The main points that I'm going to be going through are, as I kind of touched on already, the integration of your CIS data, your outage management data and processes, GIS, and AMI, and you notice optional there. I know some folks in this meeting probably have an AMI system, some don't, some are looking at it. So along the way, I'm going to demonstrate capabilities that touch on, you know, if you have an AMI, it works this way. If you don't, still works great. You know, we have dozens of customers. In fact, if you look down here, I'm going to say illustrating best practices for different scenarios. Do you have AMI or not? We have tons of customers that don't have AMI, tons of customers that have AMI. Different levels of your GIS. Sometimes you'll see somebody demonstrate a GIS system, and again, things I talked about like circuit model. If you're not quite there yet, we'll show you what the benefits are when you get there, and we'll also, you know, can talk to you after this webcast about how many ways we've helped people shorten that process of getting to a real sophisticated, you know, level within the GIS. Some utilities are using tablets in the field already, some aren't, so we'll talk about that. And then we'll probably do a question and answer. We will do a question and answer for the group. And we also know that some folks here are participants of the RP3 program, and we have the new eReliability Sync software. So what we'll do with that is, as we kind of run through the majority of the process, we'll ask for questions and answers, and then for those that are interested in taking a little bit deeper dive on the eReliability Sync, we'll play a recent video that we did with a customer that'll kind of help you get a deeper understanding of what that product's all about. Okay, so let's move on to the software demonstration. What I'm going to do is first kind of introduce you to the main components of the software and get you familiar with how everything kind of works together, and then we'll talk about some specific day-to-day, like I mentioned, GIS things that happen, you know, not necessarily the massive storm coming in, you know, we'll get to that a little bit later, but, and obviously you see in this example map, we've got a lot of things going on here, but that's because we use this for a lot of demonstrations. But, so I want to introduce you to the uniqueness of this GIS tool and why it makes GIS so much easier for people who are not GIS people And for people who are GIS people, it gives them even more power and flexibility than they're used to with traditional GIS products. So I'm going to go through that stuff, give some real-world examples of those kind of things, and then we'll get into some outage scenarios, planned outages, as well as, of course, unplanned outages. And then that's where we'll kind of hit our question and answer period when we get to that point. Okay, so this is Integrator, and if you'll notice up above you have a ribbon of basically navigation things, zoom in, zoom out, tab back, previous zoom, next zoom, so you can kind of click back and forth. We have a map tips capability, which I currently have turned on. You'll see that when you hover over stuff, it'll give you information. Obviously, panning the map, we'll be probably doing that along the way. And then our powerful and easy-to-use smart reporting capabilities. Over on the left side, we have our ability to add notes onto the system, a couple different ways of doing that, adding stuff onto the map. We have a powerful query tool we'll be looking at shortly. This is the layers of the map, which will show base maps. I'll turn a couple of those on and show you that. Buffer, red line, or measuring tools, red line, saving map as an image. The geolocate is real handy for when you're moving around with the tablet. You can tell it to kind of follow you as you're moving, so you can see yourself in the context of where you are on the map. And printing is a very nice capability within our system. Very nice. You can lay out different map outputs and produce different types of maps, and obviously dump them into either a PDF or print them on paper. Trace module, an important function within the system for planned outages or analyzing unplanned outages. And then our administration area. And then we also have Google Maps tied in, so you can do turn by turn. You could say, help me find this, transformer, and actually click on the transformer on the map, click on Google Maps, and it'll drive you over there. And then the ability to insert some hazards and do a few other things that some of this stuff we'll touch on as we go. Okay, so that's the introduction to Integrator. We also are going to be showing the outage management system. They really form together an outage management system, with Integrator being the obviously map and GIS and visual side. And in this outage management system, we have the call capture process, and I'll talk about different ways calls will come into your system. Obviously, you're going to take some phone calls. You can have web notifications with our system. You may have a call center, and if you have an AMI. So a lot of different ways that information and outage notifications will come into the system. And this information, this is kind of the dashboard of the outage management system, which we'll be showing, and really kind of helps you look at things in a detailed way, and we'll talk about that as we go. You'll notice over here on the right these color codes. So when we see items, which there doesn't happen to be any in here now, and there will be when I enter some calls, but an unanalyzed item is a new call that's come in, either from any of those sources I just mentioned. And so those will show up on the map as well, which you'll see. So I can see these are the things I still have to analyze and figure out, is this a new outage? Is this part of a known outage? Once I have that completed, I would then create an incident from those calls and say, okay, now we have a discrete outage, and we know we have to put some trucks on it. Maybe we're going to get a runner out there to look at it to decide, who we're going to put on that outage. Once I assign that outage, the item here and the stars on the map will turn black, so we know trucks are rolling. And then, of course, when things are restored and completed, that'll be reflected by the colors as well. Okay, so that's kind of, you notice here I've got some examples of blue stars here. These are unassigned incidents. And again, we'll see some red stars popping in here momentarily once we kind of get back to the outage management stuff. So, but what I want to talk about a little bit before is what I mentioned. I made a claim that this is a very unique GIS system, and I want to make an effort here to prove to you why. So most GIS systems are really designed for GIS people. They expect you to kind of know that this is a layered and complex database that's under here. And I'm just going to show an example of smart reporting where I may be just looking for a particular customer. I know they're up in this area, but I don't know exactly where they are. But I'm going to just start a basic search and say, okay, I want to check out, look for some information in this area. So I just grabbed my smart reporting tool. And now what Integrator's doing is a couple of very unique things. It's, first of all, keep in mind, as John alluded to and the graphic showed with Integrator, I'm not just connected to the data that's in the map. I'm connected to all your systems that that you've decided you want some piece of data from any one of these systems to be in this very data-rich GIS system. So for that exact area that I dragged over, Integrator's looking in the data that's in the map and any of the other data that we have connected. It's checking my security profile, and now it's giving me a list of things. So as the end user, I don't have to know that you got to be zoomed into a certain layer and turn this layer on and do 3 different things correctly in order to get information. I can really just zoom in with a rectangle, draw a box, and it'll come up and say, what are you looking for? And in this case, I'm looking for consumers, so I'm just going to select that. And then, so for the area that I dragged over, it's going to show me all the consumers that are in that area. So there was 25 of them. And an important thing to note here, another uniqueness of the product, is that this type of information, like this customer report, was really designed and set up by this customer. It's not a hard-coded thing here. Our customer, Ontonagon Rural Electric, has decided, when they look at their main customer report, they want to see name, address, account number, meter number, substation, phone, phase, map location, what sub. So looks like they put sub in there twice. But you'll also notice, if you look here, there's sub-reports. So they've set up a report that says, I want to be able to see customer usage. So if I wanted to see the usage for this customer, I could do that. And that's an example of tapping into information, obviously, in your CIS system. You'll notice a couple other things. I can add an outage, and we'll get into that type of thing. This would typically not be where I would put this in, but if I happen to be here and was talking to somebody, I could indicate to the system they're out. But the main thing that I might be looking to do in this case is saying, just show me. Again, I knew they were up in this area, but I want to zoom to the exact location and see something. Maybe they're on the phone, and I want to find their location because they're asking me a question about something. Now, in this case, I may use my base layers, and I want to look at something that's maybe in the Bing. Very good base layer there. So you can use any type of base maps, all the Esri base maps, any open, and available base maps you can use. I'm going to switch back to the regular street map. And so you can utilize those things. You can also, again, use your measure tools, your markups. Let's say you're going to do a project for these guys. You can use the markup, draw a little, sketch here, snap an image of that sketch, attach it to a work order, and send it to your crew. There's a lot of things like this. One of the whole, GIS is meant to be for everybody. You should really have an organization that everybody can use this product, and you can also use it to communicate internally with customers, with vendors. You can easily find stuff, print a map, mark stuff up, communicate without a lot of, physical exercise. You can get your exercise, some other way. Okay, so that's basically just a simple example of where I was looking for, in this case, a customer. I kind of knew where it was. I zoomed in, did some reporting, sorted, looked at it. One of the other real powerful capabilities is the ability to build queries. So queries are just simple search engines that you can say, you know, the common things we do, you know, there's a lot of times where we got to look up something, you know, find an asset of some type, find a customer, find some polls, whatever it might be. So if you look at this customer of ours, again, they have meter changeout, searches, reliability information, assignments, consumer searches, fuses, meters. I'm going to do a poll search and just do an example where I got some inspection data in. I had some guys inspect the Boston circuit and substation area. So I've just gone in here, and by the way, all these things are user definable. So when you set up a query, like this customer has a very, you know, complex query. They also have a simple poll search, but in this case, they have one that pretty much covers everything you can think of. You know, poll number, sub, poll condition, joint, height, protective device, phase. Whatever fields you have in your data, you can connect and easily set up a query to search for them. So in this case, I said I want the bad polls on the Boston substation. Now, in the prior example, I zoomed specifically to one thing, like a customer. In this case, I'm going to say zoom to all because I know I captured a lot of data and I want to see the big picture. So again, in this case, I've got a map that's identifying here's all the bad polls in all these different places. I can easily output this report. So in this case, I could say export. And with each report, you can set up, there's just a set of switches that you can say when you're setting up a report, allow the output to go to the following. So in this case, I could pop it into a CSV file, an Excel file, or a PDF file. You can also have it like a copy and paste function, so you can just put the data in a clipboard, and there's a couple other options as well. But in this case, I'll just put it into Excel with a click of the button, open up my Excel file, and you'll see that data from that report got pulled in. This is that poll report data into an Excel file. So the kinds of things that, you know, happen on a daily basis, you want to be able to, you know, look up, search, sort, filter, produce maps that make sense to people. And in this case, you know, I could make a copy of that map when I had, you know, that selected, or I could just, you know, push this data back onto the map so I can see that, and then I could very easily print that map into a PDF document with the report, get it to the crew, and say, here you go, here's your work that you have to do on replacing these poles. Okay, so those were just some examples. Again, I wanted to highlight some of the capabilities that are within the integrator product and the flexibility. And the beauty of it is our customers have done things with this product that we didn't even conceive of. Some of the things some of you folks may be considering AMI deployments. We have, you know, customers, and now we kind of spread the word around to our other customers saying, hey, you know, we had a customer set up a form building kind of tool to allow them to deploy the AMI and take pictures along the way and capture all the information. We have other customers that have done vegetation management applications with the product because you can really do a lot of those things very easily. In fact, one thing I should have shown here, I'm going to go back and rerun that bad poll report and show you the form example. We'll get into a couple more of these as we go. But again, taking asset management full circle, a lot more people accepting, you know, yeah, tablets in the field, because we can set up the forms exactly the way your paper forms, you know, used to be. It's really a lot easier nowadays with easy-to-use software and tablets that, you know, are $150, and it's straightforward stuff. So in this case, this customer has a form. So when those guys go out, like I said, I gave them the map, I gave them the list of polls to switch out. Well, when they're out there with the tablet, they can click on this button. It'll take a picture of the poll and store that. It will allow them to fill out, or require them to fill out, depending on the situation, the information. You know, put a new poll in here, so now it's good, and it was me, and I did it at this time. And like I said, in this case, they have other information they want captured, joint use information, capacitors, devices. And so that's the beauty of the integrated GIS with the forms and the ability for people. Any of these obviously can be used in the office, but when you bring it out into the field, it really does a couple things. Obviously, first of all, it eliminates the paper shuffle and the inefficiencies of that. Your maps become much more current, and you got a lot less paper to fill out. You also have, in essence, your field crew becomes your quality control. They're the ones that benefit the most from having good maps, and frankly, gripe the loudest when the maps aren't good. So now you put a tool in their hands, you say, hey, you see something that's wrong, either just put a note in there and, update it to the system, and our GIS guy will look at it if there's a location that's wrong, or make a note on the map, or fill out a form, or, just communicate, and we really have a much more efficient way of keeping things up to date and making the tool extremely useful to everybody with good data. Okay, so now I'm going to shift gears a little bit into some of the foundations of the important components of having a really nice, tightly integrated GIS. And so the next thing I'm going to start talking about is circuit model capabilities. And so as I mentioned in the opening portion of the presentation, some customers come to us and they say, yep, we got it. We got a circuit model. It's up to date. Everything's great. Some customers, not so much. So we have tools that we've built as software developers to make it a lot easier to get your parent-child connectivity model built, so we can help you do that. We offer services to do it. And then we also have tools that I'm about to demonstrate to maintain your model and make sure, and you can also sync it up if you have a MillSoft product or your engineering firm does. You cannot have it so that you only have one place to keep track of your model and keep it up to date. Okay, so I'm going to jump into the admin side of things here and show you our predictive analysis and modeling tool. So if I go in here, I'm going to go into this particular customers, and I'm going to do something called process model. And so what this software is going to do at this point is it's basically checking the connectivity model by doing full traces up and down, all the way through the system, and identifying any potential errors. Maybe we've drawn in some new system. Well, you have human error. You could have, maybe not connected something correctly, and so there's a little loop over here that, this is kind of the stuff that you do just to keep it, you just double check it once a week, once a month, whatever, however, frequent your maps are changed. This will give you a way of checking to make sure that everything, is still good. And then, as you'll see in a second, if it isn't, if there's something wrong, it'll flag it on this report and also show it to you on the map. So it makes a huge difference in terms of maintaining your circuit model. Okay, so that's complete. I'm going to hop back into the map and then just show you some of the layers concepts here. So I'm going to turn my main layer off and turn on my trace problem layer. Okay, so now the green stuff, just so you don't think the whole thing is that messed up, green is good. Okay, so if you look at this legend, the green triangles say that's good. So most of it's good, but you'll see some things here. Bad upstream ID, PC loop, that's parent-child loop. So it'll map out for you some areas where you probably have something that, one little thing got disconnected somewhere, and we've identified it. And if you look on your mapping software, you'll probably figure out pretty easily that, okay, that parent isn't connected to that child, whatever it might be. So again, modeling is a great thing, and we've set up the tools to make it easy to maintain, easy to get there, easy to maintain. Okay, so I'm going to go back and turn my master layer on here. and then we'll hop into a little next topic here. I'm going to turn on, let me switch back to the main view here of the overall map. So another component, what I showed you so far is kind of the first component of our predictive analysis. You can't really do predictive analysis for outage management if you don't have a circuit model and you don't have a good circuit model. So that was step one. Now I'm going to go in here and turn on my predictive layer and talk about how that's going to work for you, again, assuming you have that model in place. So if I go in here and zoom in into a little area here and take a closer look, and again, in more detailed one-on-one demonstrations, which we typically do as follow-up so we can get into the logic, but we did a lot of research on this, and we really have this thing working really well, and people really count on it. So we have different situations going here. We have some notes in the field. You notice these tree down, road washout. That's an ability for guys out in the field, if they have a tablet, to put a map note on. So, you know, during an outage, if there's something going on, or even something, you know, non-outage related, but hey, there's roads washed out over here, you can put that stuff on. So in this case, the predictive analysis is you know, looking at different situations and saying we got, you know, 20 calls over here that are related to this OCR. We got a yellow star here, and we got one over here as well. But that's actually, there's some calls coming in that's most likely being caused by the transformer. So just like any predictive stuff, obviously it's giving you the best place to start. It's helping you, you know, in your job. You know, we haven't come out with the software yet that can go out and automatically turn the power on. We'd be doing real well if we could get to that. But we give you the tools to get the information that you need to get up, put the right people in the right places, you know, as soon as possible. Okay, so that's some of the underlying stuff. I really wanted to talk about the foundational, you know, components of an integrated system. And now, you know, I want to take a look at just a couple more things here, and then we'll pop into some outage management examples under different scenarios. Okay, so as I mentioned, you have these symbols that you can put on here. These are what we call hazards. So just to clarify that, if somebody's in the field or in the office and they know there's a situation, they can come in and they can be, you know, with their laptop. They could say, you know, use the GPS capability of the laptop if it has one, or if not, you know, they could be zoomed in close or wherever they are. If they're using the geolocate, and then you can just grab something and put some information in and, you know, submit it, put in a note, what is it? You know, we've got an accident, whatever, a tree on a line. You can put in notes and submit the form. And in this case, it is saying technician required, so obviously there's fields you can make as required fields. So again, that's how the communication can happen now with, you know, the wonderful world of the internet and everybody being connected. We can utilize that in outage management scenarios. Okay, so just wanted to cover that one. I'm going to get into now talk a little bit about the OMS side, the setup of that, and how that makes everything, you know, really functional and ties together. And then we'll get into those scenarios here pretty quickly. Okay, so the manage screen is really everything's going to be displayed simultaneously, either in here in a tabular format so you can see all the outages that are going on and what status they're at, or all this information, like I said before, is going to be reflected on the map as well. So you'll see a lot of the function you can do on the map if you prefer, or you can do in here. It really doesn't matter how you prefer to do it. Also, if you look at this created by column, you will be able to see that this outage was created by me, the administrator, because that's when I signed in, and I signed in as administrator. If we have calls coming in, which you'll see in a little bit, you'll see where they came from. Did they come from a web notification? Did they come from your AMI system? Or did they come from an actual phone call? It's nice to know that kind of stuff. So, and it's also illustrating how this information is coming in. In this case, this is Landis & Gear AMI example that we had in from this customer, because that's the system that they have. Okay, some of the other quick things I just want to talk about is in the back of OMS is where you set up your system, your resources, people, crews, trucks, your cause codes. This is what helps you tie into the eReliability and automatically produce reliability reporting. By the way, that's whether or not you participate in RP3, it's a way to produce and automate your reliability reporting. And then you have certain things you can set up different preferences, fields in there that you can turn on and off. There's also notifications, which we'll talk about, where you can have notifications for key customers that, hey, if this customer, you know, the hospital or whatever it is, or big plant or something, if they lose power, notify, you know, these people within our organization. You also have customer notifications and crew notifications, which can happen via text as well. So again, in a more detailed demonstration, we get into all of those different scenarios. And then the advanced icon is where we have our several settings that we can have. I'm going to turn off my Enable Express Capture mode for a reason, because I'm going to demonstrate here in a few minutes taking calls in a normal sunny day outage where there's not a lot going on and you want to be able to go through some questions with a customer. And then I'm going to come back and turn the Express mode on and show when you don't have time to chat and the phone's ringing off the hook, you can just, you know, bang those calls in as quickly as possible. For those of you that are AMI customers, excuse me, this is where we do all the multi-speak setup and tie everything into your AMI. The public entry, which I'll be showing momentarily, is where we build our public notification capability. If you desire that, you can see, you can set up on your site that customers want to go to your site and let you know that they're out of power. That's very easy to do with our system. And then you also have the ability to build outage categories and custom build the questions that are going to take place when you take a call. So let's get into the mix here, and I'm actually going to start with an example of a planned outage, and then we'll get into unplanned outages. So let's see, I'm going to hop up here and grab something up this way. I can remember where to grab one. I guess it doesn't really matter. Let me pan over here a little bit. So if you're going to do a planned outage and you know obviously where you're going to hit a switch and throw things off, you might want to use our trace capability to identify everybody that's going to be affected by this outage and notify them. So I'm going to do, in this case, a point select and say we're going to, you know, when the time is right, we're going to throw the switch here, and now I'm going to utilize my trace function, and I'm going to choose, I can build, just like everything else, it's user definable. So sometimes if I'm doing an outage analysis and I may be using predictive, I might also do manual analysis. So I want to trace up to the first protective device and then flood back down. I want to trace up all the way up to a subdivision. But in this case, I'm just saying I'm going to do a planned outage from here down, so trace down to the meters, and I can run that report, and it will show me, you know, visually on the system, it will show me the, you know, what is all going to happen, and then I can run, you know, a consumer report and then, you know, either text or email notify these 49 people that next Tuesday, you know, we're going to have a planned outage. So very great. You know, once you have all this connectivity, you know, I've asked people, you know, how do you do planned outages? And if you don't have this kind of capability, it's a pretty tedious process, obviously. Okay, So now I'm going to switch over to some outage interaction here. We're going to talk, like I said, the first example will be a sunny day outage, and we just have somebody calling in who's, saying, hey, I don't have power. And there's not, a massive storm hitting. So in this case, I would find the customer. Now, I typed Bean here. I should have said, this is where we're linked to your billing system. So I just typed his last name and said find, and it went in there and it found anybody whose last name was Bean. And so then I say, okay, that's the person I want. I want to add a new call. And then you'll notice these questions. Now, these are user definable by you. And these are just examples we've gotten from our customers. Do you have power? No. Is your entire house out? Yes. Are your neighbors, do your neighbors have power? No. Any kind of information you can gather about electric wires down, tree limb, do you hear a loud bang or flash a light? Any of those things are good because they'll get you that, that information will flow through to the people that are going to analyze what's going on and the people that are going to fix it. So I can just verify I've got the right information here with the customer. Again, if it's a sunny day thing, this is where you capture new phone numbers, you put in comments, whatever you want, and then you click finish. Okay, so now let's say it's, the next day and there is a big storm coming through and the phone's ringing off the hook. So now I'm going to go down and enable my express capture. Okay, and save that. And I'm going to repeat that process with a different customer. And so I've got another customer calling, Arjala. I hit find. Find out there's two of them, but this gentleman says it's Ed. So I come in here, notice it doesn't ask any questions. I'm just done. Boom, customer out, next call. Okay, so those are two different ways to get calls in when you're actually getting phone calls on the phone. The other component is the public entry capability. And so what this allows us to do, this little piece of software from us, we just connect it to your website. When people come here, they would see, obviously, your logo, not ours. You can define a welcome thing, whatever you want that to say. It says, welcome to our notification area. And then they have to put in either a valid account number or phone number. And then what the software does is it just gives them a confirmation back. This is the address, right? And they go, okay, yep, that's the right one. And then you can put in your information. You also have the ability to predefine for them any information. So even though they're giving you a web notification, they might still want you can still gather some information from them, truck, hit, pole, line on street, whatever it might be. So you can input that information, and again, that comes in directly. Now, we also have a public outage map, which hopefully I'll remember to show, but in this kind of example, I want to just keep flowing with, okay, we got those calls in. They've come in from different ways. Again, if you have an AMI system, there's a real good chance that by the time the customer got here or calls you, your AMI system's already notified you. So there is another component to that, that if I go in and go to enter that again, let's say, and the old joke is not that anybody ever, notifies you twice, but obviously they could come back in, they want to, tell you again, or the husband told you and now the wife's at a different place at work. She comes in and what's that number, and goes to put it in, and it says, you have an active notification in the system. So that component, that web component, has cut down on the number of phone calls that our customers get, tremendously. So a real nice capability that we built into the product a couple years back. Okay, so let's go back to our outage management system, and you'll see now we have some red items. So we have some unanalyzed calls that have come in. And So we can see that information. You can see this was the web created by public, and the note that I put in there is in there. So that's how the stuff is being captured, and then how it's being displayed. Let me see, I got WebEx getting in the way of my my menus up here. Okay, so if I go back to the main screen now, you'll notice up above here we have some red stars. So I'm going to zoom into that area and start taking a look at that and do some analysis and figure out what's going on and get a truck over there. Okay, so if I zoom in on here, I can see that I have 3 calls in. Now again, I'm trying to do this demo with different scenarios. If you have AMI, this stuff's probably all lit up. And your predictive analysis, one thing I forgot to mention, in the multi-sync for AMI customers, you have the ability to set up automatic grouping so that using the predictive and the information that's coming in, like, where the timing and the location of the notices, you can set it so that it will group calls together, and obviously these would all be red. And so in this case, I'm going to demonstrate kind of, like I said, sometimes people think you got to have an AMI system to have good outage management system. That's really not true. We've been selling these systems to way before AMI was, very as popular as it is. So in this case, I'm looking at this situation and saying, okay, I don't see any stuff going on that isn't related to this particular fuse. I got customers up here, they're okay. I got customers down below, they're okay. So I'm pretty sure, this fuse probably kicked out. So, maybe I send a runner out there to take a look and see if, the information's there. You'll notice that just popped in. My runner was just out there and, had used his form. You could put anything you wanted on there, like, fuse out, whatever. So basically, I'm going to now start to group these calls together and manage this incident. So I'm going to start with just clicking on this fuse. There's one thing I want to do is, because I don't have all of those calls in there, I want to update the information for, to tell the information, obviously for reliability reporting purposes, as well as getting the information into the system quickly. I can do a couple things here. So you'll notice over on the right, it says select downstream meters, okay? So what that does is it just goes downstream of that fuse and selects all the meters, okay? So there's 13 meters downstream from that fuse. Okay, now I'm going to do something that's just called create all calls, because I just want to put in a call for everybody. Even though some of them didn't call in, I want to put in a notification. So again, if they do start calling in, we already know they're out. We can still take information from them if we want to, but we can basically indicate that, we have everything in the system. We know that that fuse is out, and that's who's been affected. Okay, so now what I want to do is create an incident and group all these calls together. So if you see this little arrow, it says create new incident, and I just come in and say create that incident. So it takes one of those calls and it creates a bucket, if you will, for us to group, so that when we're looking at the map or we're looking at our OMS manage screen, we don't need to see every single call. If there's, 500 calls and they're all related to this one thing, let's put them all in a bucket so we can look at it as a discrete outage and not have to sort through thousands of or hundreds or thousands of calls. Okay, so we've now created an incident, and now all we want to do is group our calls into that incident. So we hit on this group multiple calls, and we picked the incident. It was the Hermit's Cove area there. And so we say, it's still unassigned because I haven't rolled trucks on it yet. And so if I do that, and then if you notice on the map, it will actually turn those stars blue. And if I look in the OMS, well, missed my click there. We now have this Hermit's Cove outage in here. And actually, if I come back to OMS, there would have been a spot where you'd have seen, 13 red calls, but I grouped them all into here. But if I want to open up that incident, I can now see those calls. So these are all the people I just grouped into that. And now I can basically either from here or from the map start rolling trucks and doing that portion. So I'm going to do a couple different examples. I'll do one where I'm going to roll the trucks here. So what I want to do now is assign a crew to this incident. So now you notice it says OMS assign crews. So I can tell who I want on this and, keep track of when. And if I wanted to put comments in, I could do that. So that's going to do two things. It's going to mark that now as an assigned outage. So when I'm visually looking at, obviously, during outages, on a sunny day outage, you only got one to deal with, it's great. If you got 5 of them going on, you need to keep track of where am I at. Have I assigned this one? I got trucks rolling, did it, and you're constantly, coordinating things, and you need the visual and the data to make the right decisions and to keep track of really, what's going on. Okay, so now if I, look at my map, you can see that the stars are black. So that shows me that that's assigned. And, I might switch now back to my map and look at another outage that, or evaluate some more calls coming in and figure out I've got another outage on the other side of the system and do the same type of process. So now what I will do too here, I am proud of myself for remembering. I'm going to switch to just show you the Ontonoggin's public site here. So this is the same customer, and they have set up, and this is a demonstration site, so there might not be a ton of, well, there is some, yeah, there's the information I put in over there, and this is very common for customers to want to have this. So it's a nice, the two things complement each other. If they go to your website, they see a public outage map, they see that you're aware of a bunch of calls in their area, that's probably good enough for them. If they don't, they'll come in, they want to go into your website, put in a notification, so it all ties together nicely. So again, kind of a pretty thorough run through and, moving pretty fast there, but I'll ask Dan to open up again. We're going to play a video about the eReliability sync software, but maybe for those that's not applicable to, we can open up the calls for any questions on everything I showed so far. Dan?
Yes, I am here. Are we ready for questions?
Anybody have any questions?
Give me 1 second. I'm just opening up the lines right now. All right, the lines are unmuted.
Okay, well, like I said, it's kind of a whirlwind tour, and our first goal, obviously, is to pass the first audition. We typically do follow up on all the attendees and a lot of different topics. People might want to go down one road or another, help with their maps, have different questions, but we at least like to open it up for those that are interested in asking a question now. And we'll answer those, and then, like I said, for those that are interested, we'll play this little 5-minute video on the eReliability sync software. So last call for questions, or I'll flip it over to the video.
And if anyone wants to submit a question using the chat, they can do that too.
Okay, so let me just check my volume here, and hopefully this just as backdrop, this is a video actually yesterday with a current customer of ours, Braintree Electric, who is a very active member of APPA and very involved in the RP3 program. And this, product, as we've indicated, is new. It's been fully tested at a couple different sites. And this was just, I thought, a good way to kind of communicate the capability of it just by sharing. I asked him if it was okay if we recorded the meeting, and he had no problem with that. So, like I said, it's about 5-6 minutes long, and we'll let it run here.
This is a handshake. I allow it to authorize use of my product with theirs. Does that make sense? It's kind of like a two-point authentication with Facebook.
Sure.
Okay. So now what the product has done, and you don't see it because it's in the background, is it goes out and makes sure that your utility information is the connections are all good between your OMS and your CIS system. Okay. And it gives me that feedback. It also makes sure that any cause you have mapped is mapped to an APPA cause. So in your scenario with OMS, we create a view of, what causes you want to be part of this. And then there's a tool in here that lets you map your outage code from OMS to an outage code from APPA. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but that's done manually?
Yeah, it should be a one-time setup as long as you're not tweaking the other one, right, in OMS. If you're set in OMS, then you just do it once.
Okay.
Okay? If you're tweaking stuff here and there, in fact, one of the things I always have to warn people, if you're tweaking it on the OMS side, create a new one, leave the old one there. You know what I mean? So.
Sure.
Okay. So, basically, what it will do is if you're missing even one is not mapped, it will not let you synchronize because that's a required field from APPA. Okay. Now,
how do you fix that if they don't map correctly?
If there's any one map that's unmapped, you just have to go in. You'll get a triangle, a red triangle here that tells you something's wrong, and the sync button will go away. Basically saying, I can't sync stuff for you. You don't have everything mapped right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but how do you fix it if everything's not mapped correctly?
Oh, you just go in, and in here, you'll see that triangle, that red triangle on the ones that aren't mapped correctly. And then you'll go over here, and you'll pick what you want it to map as, and you'll hit save.
Okay, so you change it manually. Got it.
Yep. Okay, so I'm going to hit that. Yeah, it was fun for the first customer because he had so many outage codes that we, that first time through was, it was kind of a pain in the butt. Okay, so this also goes out and it checks to see that your substations are mapped and your circuits are mapped. Okay. Now, this for the first customer again, he had his circuits in a couple different ways over the years. Okay. So we had to do some cleanup on his data on the APPA side.
Okay.
Actually, one of the APPA guys did some stuff for us to make it faster. But if you're nice and clean, then what we do is basically it's the same concept. We map what they have to what we have, okay? So we map our circuits, what we called it in our system versus what it's called over in their system. So that's kind of the setup time, or setup, You'll see that I have a little thing here, and I did this on purpose. It's actually telling me that there's one circuit that when it pulls your outage information from your system, there's one that doesn't have a circuit map, okay? So it is an empty circuit value. And we can allow you to synchronize with those, but you have to create, one called empty or whatever. So this is basically allowing you to map and telling you when you have problems in your data.
I see.
Which is actually it's quite handy. In fact, the first customer, his CIS system doesn't have the circuit in it, and he didn't type it in his GIS system. So he actually uses our trace tool to populate what circuit things are on. And right away, we found that he didn't have some of his trace set up correctly, and then we were able to see that right away.
Good.
So it was kind of a nice warning for him. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to hit back. So this is just a warning. It's just basically saying some of these you have some empty data. It's not going to prevent me from synchronizing, okay? So now I can determine what date do I want to query back from in my outages. You can see that in this scenario, there's 41 bad outages. Outages with bad information, okay? Basically, this has an invalid cause, and this one has an invalid cause, okay?
So it tells you what the problem is on each one.
Yeah, and so that you can go in and try to figure that out. The reality is these have no cause assigned to them. These are outages that they didn't close out.
Okay.
Completely. Okay, so they didn't assign a cause to. This will also look for, your start times before your end time and things like that. Okay? So again, I tried to set up as many kind of warning shots out there for you as possible. So what I can do is I can go.
We had some outages. We had some outages that I needed to fix that had the end time started before the start time.
Yep, and that's what this is doing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go in here, and I'm going to turn some of these off so I'm not synchronizing the whole set here. And there's a reason, and I'll explain in a second. So I'm going to go select the 3 I want, synchronize. And what's nice is I would actually, instead of waiting until the end of the year, you can do this every 6 months now, every 3 months. Okay. So now you can see that it says there's 14 available to sync.
Okay, so, and actually I cut that video off a little bit too quick at the end there. What he was just going to say is, 14 outages still available at sync, but 3 of them did synchronize. So one of the key points that just touched on, and we followed up further later and just had kind of a general discussion, is, obviously it saves a huge amount of time to be able to synchronize all this data and not have to enter it manually. But it still gives you the ability to look at the data and make sure, it's right. It's not just a complete, sync that it'll catch things and allow you to analyze it. And it's also, the customers that are now moving towards this are saying, it's going to be great. I'm going to do this every 2-3 months instead of it stacking up to being a huge project at the end of the year. And also, I just get better information about my reliability. I can use the great tools on the APPA site, as the year progresses. So that kind of concludes today's presentation. I guess I'll open it up one more time if there's any questions, and if not, we'll sign off for today, and thank everybody for your time.
All right, the lines are open. If anyone has any additional questions today.
Okay. Well, we appreciate everybody's time, and like I mentioned, we typically follow up, and a lot of times people are just would more prefer to ask us questions one-on-one. So we'll be in touch, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.